Hello lovely people, Kitten here. This month's free pattern made us a lovely little shopping tote. I've lined it to make it super strong. It's up to you if you do that. I very rarely make a project to completion thinking, oh, I'm going to use that. But I love this. I'm going to use this for my shopping. I've even made a little flower. If you've been with me a while, you'll have loads of flower patterns in your little cubby hole to make and use. So this is double moss stitch. I've made a pattern out of it. You could make stripes, you can make it plain, you can make it long handle to put on your shoulder, you can make it shorter for a little evening tote. Where's your oyster? Let me show you how to make it. This is a pattern I roughed out last summer for a promotion I had going at the time. The original working for the bag was that you started at the bottom, worked the depth, worked the handles, came down the other side, joined the bag at the bottom. So very simple, straightforward, but I'm going to show you how we can change that because the yarns I want to work with, I haven't got much. I don't know what it's going to take. This is worked in cotton. Bags are much nicer worked in cotton. They feel better, they last better, they've got strength and structure to them. I've got this pretty dotty stuff that I want to use for the handles. And I've got the James Brett 100% cotton I want to work for the body of the bag. Pretty close match on the colours there. I think that goes really well. But I don't know how long the handles are going to be or how long I want to make the body. So you may as well be party to all the workings out and scribbles because this is real time. I'm just winging it here. This is how it happens. I'm going to rework the pattern and shift it so that you start at the top of the handle, come down to the handle, into the bag. I can work on both sides at the same time so I know how much I'm going to use, and then when I switch to the body colour I don't have to worry about how deep the body's going to be because I've got plenty of yarn for it. So we're going to start at the handles. The actual pattern itself is double moss stitch. Moss stitch is like a rib, but instead of keeping all the flat bits on top of the flat bits, you put the flat bits on the bump. You know, if you've been with me for some little while, we talk about flat bits and bumps on the fronts of your stitches. And that's how you tell which is which. So, I haven't got the end out of that, perhaps I'll just... You might not have done this before. I do it, it's quite often done for sleeves, to make sure you get both pieces of the sleeve exactly the same and all the shapings in the right place. You don't end up with one longer. So we're going to cast on 13. There is no right and left side of this to worry about. There's no other shaping. So they are both absolutely identical. We have a handle and then it comes down for a handle. Another advantage of doing it this way, if you want to make this into a shoulder bag, I've worked 60 rows. I think this pattern is not finalised, won't be finalised until I've worked it. More than once, knowing me. If you want to make the handle longer, just work more rows before you shape it out into the body. It shapes out into the body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right, I'm doing them both together, so leave that over there. Start for the other handle, the other side. Advantages and disadvantages. As I say, it keeps them both absolutely identically the same. Disadvantage, you think you're working slower because you have to do 2 before you've completed 2 rows before you get to do it, so you'd think you're going slower to work the project, but you're not. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'll talk you through the first couple of rows of the pattern, and then increasing, decreasing. Perhaps I'll show you how to cast on at the beginning of the front of the beginning of the row to blend that in. But it is just a very simple 4 row, 4 stitch pattern repeat. I'm going to keep the edge rows as a knit. So we're going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. There are varieties of double moss stitch. Don't be fooled if you've heard something called double moss stitch and it's not quite this, because there are several different takes on it. It just means you've got a 2 of something together in there that exaggerates the moss checkerboard pattern. Sometimes it's 2 together, sometimes it's the same above each other, sometimes it's both, which makes a little square. And on the row back, keep your first and last stitches knit. Keep them fairly tight because this is the edge of a bag. It's not. So we're going to knit. See the bump? We're going to purl. See it's flat. Going to knit. So you've got 2 rows the same. If you carried on in a similar pattern, you'd end up with rib, which is not what we want for this because rib is very stretchy. Any form of the moss family, very strong, rough and hard and very strong, very practical. 2 knits at the end because every stitch is going to be a knit, and keep it tight. Keep your edges tight. And we're going to knit. Now we're going to turn it round, and if you can see, you've got 2 knit stitches that's flat. We're going to put a bump there. There's a bump there, so we're going to put the bump at the back for the next 2 rows. Turning it round. See how it's flat? The purl brings it forward. Okay. So 1 more row finishes the pattern. Knit, Oops, sorry. I'll get my, hopefully, oh there it goes. Hopefully towards the end of this week, next week, I will have my proper space set up. Not quite there yet. Not quite there, but it's nearly there. Oh, I'm scratching myself. There. That is your pattern. If you wanted an even tighter effect, you could go down. I wouldn't go down to 3.5, but I might use a 375. You see, you've got your 2 rows. Those 4 patterns are the pattern. That's it. Those 4 rows are the pattern. That's how you do. I'm going to shove that out the way because I've shown you the pattern. And from now on, I'm going to work those same 4 here. I'm going to go across them both. So we build up together and we can use the yarn at the same time and we know how much yarn we've got. Now we've got our 2 handles. This is going to be overlapped, slightly joined. So your bag is going to be here. If you want longer, go longer. We're going to increase slightly to shape down into the bag, and I want to show you how you keep your sides neat, because we've got to increase on both sides of the strap. Let me just get a bit of wiggle, get a bit of space. So we're going to work the first stitch as a knit, we're going to work into the front and the back of the next stitch, and then we're going to work the rest of the row to the pattern to here, front and back knit. 4 rows you're going to be doing that. This is why you need to be able to tell the difference between your stitches. So doesn't make any difference here. We're going to do a knit, we're going to knit into the front and the back. Don't make it complicated for yourself, that stays the same. Look at your next couple of stitches. What have we got? We've got, that's a knit and that's a purl. You see there's no bar there, that means that's a knit stitch, that's the purl stitch. Now there's only 1 of each, so as we're collecting 2 of each, you want to be putting the knit stitch on the knit, the purl stitch on the purl. That keeps your pattern right, so you've got 2sies of each. I'm going to go along here and then come back again because it'll shift the pattern and you'll get another look at what I mean. Right, we're back. I've gone along through both of them and I've increased here. Don't make life difficult for yourself. Knit the first one, knit into the front and the back, go to the last 2, knit into the front and the back, whatever it's going to turn out as, knit into the front of the back and then keep your last one and knit. It's a bag, it'll make an even pattern. That's fine. Don't mess about, don't play, don't try and worry about it. It's the neatness, the strength that we need. Right, so we're going to do the same again. We're going to knit into the first stitch, we're going to forget everything that's going on, knit into the front, knit into the back. Now that's one of the stitches you've grown, so it hasn't got a defining pattern. So you need to look along your line, what have we got? That's a knit and you've got 2 on top of each other. That's the pearl. So that'll be a knit. But it doesn't exist. So this is going to be your knit. That's going to be your pearl. It's going to be 2 pearl on top of that, 2 knit. So that isn't what you think it's going to be. It's going to be the knit. So when you come here, you've got your 2 pearl. So you're going to make it a knit. You've got your 2 knit. You're going to make it a pearl. You've got your 2 pearl. You're going to make it a knit. We'll carry on like that to the end of the road. I'm going to show you again at the beginning, and you can pause and rewind and go as slowly as you like until you get it straight in your head. When you get to the last 2, knit front, remember, take it round so you've got space. Knit back, off, knit 1. We're going to make this one the same. Your first one is going to be a knit. We're not going to be thinking about it. Your second one is going to be knit into the front, knit into the back. This is a floating stitch. We're not quite sure where it would be, so we need to look further back in the pattern. So you've got 2 knit there, so you want to bring that forward as a pearl. So that's a knit. This is a pearl. Does that help? Check along your pattern. You've got 2 knits. It's a pearl. You've got 2 pearls. It's a knit. Okay, those 2 are repeated. Look here, even if you have to go further along to see where your pattern forms, look further along the row. Now we're going to cast on 5 at the beginning of a couple of rows. There's 2 more rows like this, and then we're going to cast on 5 to get a bit of a shape. So let's carry on forward like that. Right. It gives you a nice little shape here. This is the bit that we need to concentrate on keeping right. We've done a couple of those. Do you know what? I might actually do another couple just to make a better shape, just to expand it. This is what makes it personal. This is why we love knitting. Make it personal. Knit into the front, knit into the back. Right, now this you really will have to look along your line to see, because all this is grown on, so come right back. That's a pearl and it's 1, knit and it's 1, pearl, knit, pearl, knit. So to keep the pattern right, that's going to have to be a knit, pearl, knit. We get into the middle. I'm putting a pearl on top of a single pearl. Yes, that's perfect. I'm going to do this row and another row, then I'm going to make the increase. That's better. It's got a little bit more of a shape to it. This is literally creating my knitting patterns in progress. This is how we do it. And you look in the middle, 2, 2. Yeah, we're lining up nicely. This is literally how we create a knitting pattern, and I want to give you the tools and knowledge so you can do this too. Just make it a bit bigger, add a pattern to it. It frees you up so much. Now we're going to shape it even more, and I'm going to cast on 5 stitches at the beginning of the next 4 rows. So you can't obviously, you could cast, you could actually, yeah you could, perhaps I'll do, yeah perhaps I will, okay, yeah I'm going to do 5 stitches at the each end of every row, just to show you how to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to cast on 5 stitches. Now you're going to have to look right back here for find your pattern. That's a purl, and there's only one of them. There's one purl, yeah. So that's got to be a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Your first stitch is always a knit. So knit, purl. Concentrate, because your first few are going to be a bit wobbly. Knit, purl. We should be getting into, that's it, it's firmer now. It's firmer now, I can see where I'm going. So we should be a purl on top of a purl to make it 2. And we are right. We'll carry on to the end of the row. If one like this is, I'm sitting in my quiet corner. I like to sit in my quiet corner and do my knitting. If you hear scrabbly diggy noise, it's because Edward is making a bed. Edward likes to get his blankets out and sit and make a bed. Doesn't achieve much, he just sort of digs around a bit and then sits and chews his paw. So when you hear these funny noises, it's not me, I promise, it's the dog's making a bed. Okay, I'm going to go to the end of the row. And just to show you how you do it, keep the last one a knit stitch, remember. Cast on 5 there. Let's cast on 5 here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. Put it on the end. When you come back to it after you've done this other one, you will have to look to find your pattern. But you've got 5 stitches on both ends of the row there. I'm going to do exactly the same with this one, and then I'm going to do it again. I'll show you what we've got. There's your handle. Work your bag as long as you want it. Just remember that when you finish it and start using it, it's going to stretch this way and going to be shorter. Don't compromise on the overall length. Don't think, oh, that'll be good enough, because when we finish this, you won't be able to go back and add a couple of inches. If you just want a short little bag, then do that. If you want a long shopping bag, keep going for as long as you want. We are going to, where have we got the 2 cast off edges? We're going to cast those off together to join them because it makes a stronger join and it's neater than sewing it. Let's line that up for you. You will need 3 knitting needles, the pair that you've worked on and an extra. If you don't have an extra 4mm, don't worry about it. The holding needle for the stitches can be smaller, but the needle you're actually going to cast off with does need to be a 4mm. So we're going to put these stitches onto a spare needle. We're just going to slip them onto a needle like that so we can put the 2 sides together. Slip those. The beauty of doing it this way is that you will get your base perfectly lined up. Okay? 2 sets of needles. I know, it just went mad.
Well, it was raining so hard I couldn't hear my radio.
I could, yeah, I put the film off because I couldn't hear the film.
We're not doing very with our lollies, are we?
Casting off together is very simple. It is literally what it says on the tin. In through the first one, in through the second one, knit through, you've put them onto 1 stitch, into the second, do a knit, come through and cast off. Make sure you cast off really loosely. The last thing you want to do is pinch the bag in at the bottom. Keep as loose and relaxed as you can and just keep... Oh, it's just about impossible with 2 dogs joining in to see what's going on, honestly. Go along like that. You will cast both sides off together. Sorry about that. Eddie jumped up, knocked everything flying. But it is just knitting the 2 together and casting off all the way along. You get a really tight, secure seam. And for that reason, we're going to do the side seams the same way. I'm going to go right the way through both. Hang on to this tail because it's vulnerable at the beginning. Bring it through both. Knit through both sides. This is going to look really incredibly awkward and ungainly because I've got a heap with my tablet to record in. Normally I would hold everything in one hand, but there you go. Where's my yarn? There's my yarn. So we're going to keep the 2 edges together. We're going to go straight the way through both sides, bring them both together with a stitch, and we're going to cast off straight away. You could do this in blanket stitch, you could just sew it up normally, you could crochet it if you know a bit of crochet. You could crochet it together, anything like that. Whatever floats your boat, they will give you slightly different effects. And then we cast off. So we're going through both sides. Just take your time. Make sure you match all the way up. I've put a bit of a pattern in mine, so I've got something to aim for to line it up. The most important part is the start and the end line up. You can always pin them together if you wanted to keep it accurate. Cotton doesn't give like acrylic does. It's fairly stiff, firm fabric that it makes. It hasn't got the bounce to it. And you just carry on going up like that. Make sure you get both sides together and the oh, we're just going to get interrupted here any minute. The old goat's going to come and interrupt me. Both sides together. This is the one that I did. I've already done the other side. You can see it gives you a really nice, solid, secure seam. This side hasn't got, this fabric hasn't got a right side and a wrong side. So if you want to put it the other way and have that as your outside, vanishes into absolute nothingness. So just carry on along, joining all your side seams together. There's my finished bag sewn together. You can see the pattern I've made on the outside. I'm going to leave it on the outside. I like the detail. You could turn it through and it'll be gone. It's entirely up to you. It's lovely and soft, textury. I've crocheted around the edge to match it. The handle I overlapped half an inch, sewn down both sides and then up the middle, so that is solid. And I've crocheted straight through everything. I've crocheted the edges together, so that's it. That would do. You don't need anything else. If you use it like that, it will organically grow and stretch, get into all sorts of shapes and change sizes. You can go one step further. I'm going to line mine, so you need something to line with, an old pillowcase, duvet cover, anything like that. You don't have to go out and buy new. And we're going to make a paper pattern so that we get the right shape. So that's the next step along the line. We've got the right sides of the fabric together. We've hemmed round the three sides of the bottom. That slides in there. Match your side seams to your side seams. Turn that under just a tiny little bit. Pin that. Pin around. I haven't joined my handle, but join the handle. I tend to pin it first, so I know how much to leave for the handle, so that it'll sit nicely underneath here. That turns under. Slip around just on the inside so it's hidden, you can't see it. Slip along there with a needle and thread to hold it all together. And that's your lining for your bag.